Hi, I'm here to share my idea with you by showing you this pebble. I keep it in my pocket as a reminder that I can be the pebble that ripples across the farmlands of this country to empower young farmers to thrive. I'm an architect in New York City, but I live on a beautiful farm with a farmer family where young farmers and urbanites coexist in harmony. This enables young farmers to start their own farming business while urbanites can connect with nature. As an architect for many years, I always wondered, what can I do more as an architect? How can I contribute for a greater good in a creative way? One day, I got a phone call out of the blue. It was from my friend who's a community organizer, and he asked me if I would design a community garden in his hometown in Louisiana. I thought, this is my chance to contribute. I gladly said yes, and I even volunteered to fly down to Louisiana and help with the construction. I spent the most memorable week building this garden with my friend and volunteers. The people in this neighborhood didn't have access to fresh food, but after building this garden with the community, they're growing their own vegetables. People gathered around this garden, meeting new people, interacting, and talking to each other, and sharing new recipes with fresh ingredients straight from the garden. Kids are learning that potatoes come from the ground and not from a tree. The whole community is coming together through the garden that I designed. And this was the moment when I saw the power of design that transformed the entire community. And this was the turning point of my life. And I became the pebble. After this experience, I came back with a sense of purpose. I wanted to recreate the impact of the garden in Louisiana. I asked myself, what am I passionate about? What do I enjoy and what do people enjoy? One thing I appreciate the most about living in New York City is the food. I consider myself a foodie and I love to cook. So I have been a regular at a farmer's market and I belong to CSA, Community Supported Agriculture. And I've been loving the fresh local produce and I wanted more people to love this. In fact, I tell all my friends to go to farmer's market to shop. I want all of us to enjoy this for a long time. Then I realized food has always been one of my dots that I needed to connect with others. I became genuinely curious about how the produce is grown locally and regionally. So I started attending many farming conferences, workshops, info sessions, whatever I could find in and out of the city. But the more I spent time in these sessions, the more I wanted to learn directly from the source. So I signed up to volunteer at local farms in the Hudson Valley, which is known for its great farming community. On the first day of volunteering, driving just an hour away from New York City, I found myself fully surrounded by nature. There was no sighting of concrete buildings and there was no street noise. I was ready to get my hands dirty. My first task as a farm volunteer was to plant sweet potatoes in the soil. And I still remember vividly the feel and the earthy smell of the soil when I placed my hands in the ground. It was an electrifying moment, and I felt instantly connected with nature. I can't remember the last time I touched soil, but I knew how much I missed this. Biologist Dr. Edward O. Wilson coined the term biophilia, and he believes that it is our innate human desire to be connected with nature, and when we do, we feel rejuvenated. I couldn't agree more, and I'm the living proof of that theory. I was so sure about this and the path that I was taking. To fully commit to my belief and to continue learn farming, I decided to quit my job. My friends thought I was crazy, And it was really hard for me to let go of a stable job, but I was liberated to do so much more. I continued volunteering for 2 years. I watched plants grow, and I learned how to raise crops. Most importantly, I got to spend time with so many incredible farmers and learn what it means to be a farmer. I met this really amazing farmer family who has been farming for over 10 years, and they've been feeding hundreds of families in their local community through CSA. I also met this young farmer who has been expanding his business by supplying fresh local ingredients to multiple restaurants. I met farmer after farmer, and it was so inspiring. But at the same time, I learned the harsh reality of farming. It turns out that majority of the small-scale farms are operating at a loss. Many of them are struggling to make living, and they need to have second and even third jobs to sustain their farm. It's no wonder why people are leaving farming industry, especially the young farmers. The average age of farmers is now close to 60. Farmers over 65 outnumber those under 35 by more than 6 to 1. This was shocking to me. According to this, there are fewer and fewer young farmers who are holding the key to the future of agriculture. And if this trend continues, the great farming knowledge and the true steward of the environment will be forever lost. So I asked many young farmers, what is your biggest challenge when starting a farm? Among many obstacles, they told me about the extreme challenges with land access. Valuable farmland is lost at about 2,000 acres every day, according to the American Farmland Trust. This is due to a myriad of reasons, including development and conversion to non-agricultural use. So farmland is getting more expensive. You know the farmer family that I told you about? They had to farm for more than 10 years to buy their own land. For this reason, majority of the beginning farmers are leasing farmland. Many of them rely on a short-term land lease, which means that they may lose the land after they put heart and soul into building their farm. There's no security and there's no protection for them. They also told me the price of housing is skyrocketing. Many young farmers cannot afford to live in a good, habitable place at a convenient location. Many of them have long commute to their farm. This is just not fair. The heroes who are growing our food and improving our natural environment are suffering. My mission became quite clear. Empower the next generation of farmers. Many people and organizations are putting their heads together to solve these problems, but as an architect and as a person who loves farmers and local farms, I was convinced that I can provide design solutions to this, just like the design that transformed the entire community in Louisiana. I was certain that I can create ripples to change this trend so that we have more young farmers. I thought, what if I can create a place that provides land and housing for farmers, and it can also be a place for urbanites like myself to be connected to the source of food. I envision this will bring farmers and people together, and this will gather people to support farming. So this design idea is named Together. This was just an idea at that point. My real work began with finding a farmland, building a house, and finding a farmer. Every weekend, I dragged my wife in a rental car, driving hours to look at possible farmlands. And after 2 years of extensive searching, we found an ideal place. An old dairy farm in the Hudson Valley, about 1.5 hours from New York City. Now we had the farmland, Next is the house. I designed a two-family house under one roof, one unit for the farmer and the other one for us so we can be neighbors. I envision having conversations about farming and sharing a meal and interacting in a common space that we share, and this co-living would enrich all of our lives. During the construction, we're also searching for a farmer. Everyone that I met and told about my design idea, they always ask me this question: how do you find farmers? I told them there is a website similar to an online matchmaking site for landowners and farmers. Through this, my wife and I were fortunate to have met so many incredible, diverse farmers during our search process. After a series of phone calls and in-person interviews, we successfully found our match. It's a young farmer family who is starting a regenerative farm. For this farmer family, I was able to provide a renewable, free land lease for 30 years so they can be worry-free about land access for a while. I also provided an affordable on-site housing in the two-family house, along with basic infrastructure for the farm. Having a house on the farm makes it an ideal setup for starting a farm. There's no need for a commute. It has been truly an amazing experience seeing the farmer family growing their business. Over the last 2 years, they have new USDA organic certification and many regular customers at their farmers markets. They'll be extending their season with larger production and feeding more families in our local community through CSA for the 3rd season. I learned throughout this journey that it is really the intangible value of seeing nature working its miracle. Interacting with people who are growing the food that I'm eating and sharing this joy with others. These gifts make this experience priceless. My design idea provides free long-term land lease and affordable on-site housing for farmers. This is a model where urban and rural intersect, mutually benefiting landowners and farmers. This model will continue to evolve, and I'm certain I can persistently support young farmers in a creative way. What excites me more is that this idea will continue to spread and inspire others. I ask you to join me to be your own pebble that ripples to make a difference in the world so that we all have healthier lives. Thank you.